This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
Thrown under the bus.
No. Always live, always real, always unpredictable.
I'm not okay with that.
It sounded good when I thought.
Log on and join our live conversation.
Yes, I don't like
right.
that.
You're 100% right. DBL starts right now.
Welcome to DBL. It is Wednesday, June 5th. We are live, and we're talking about what you're talking about right now. I'm here with Stephanie, Tori, Brandon, and I am Sam. Let's get started. A crazy video is trending everywhere right now of a 74-year-old woman being rescued by a helicopter on Tuesday near Phoenix. She had gotten injured while hiking, but the rescue attempt took an unexpected turn. Look at that. When the stretcher-like device began to spin wildly, it gets really bad at one point, churning violently. A police pilot says the turning was due to a line that didn't operate properly. Ultimately, once the helicopter got moving, the spinning slowed down. Authorities have not yet released the patient's status. Stephanie, you can't even watch the footage.
That is making me feel so nauseous. I mean, okay, you know when you go to a theme park and you just go on a cup and saucer ride and it slightly spins? I am feeling horrendous. So I can't even imagine what she must have felt like. She obviously is in a very dangerous situation to have to even endure being taken by helicopter. Why didn't they just stop?
Okay, so here's the deal. She's 74 years old. They brought her up. They say this happens very rarely. So what they tried to do is lower the helicopter, and you can see them. They lower it, and she kind of stops and slows, but gets hit by the bushes. So then they bring her back up, and she kind of gets on. It's a terrible thing, but it's very rare.
I'm glad that you said it's terribly rare, because when I did look into this exact apartment near Phoenix, they have done hundreds. Thousands of rescues, and they've only had 2 incidents where this has happened too. So we have to remember that, for all the incredible, great, heroic rescues out there, there's going to be situations just like this.
Absolutely.
It's just odds.
And they're putting their lives on the line as well. You know, you see this. There's one thing about survivalism and getting rescued, and then there's the actual rescue part of it. That's also dangerous. You see that in the Coast Guard. You see that in the military as well.
They've died rescuing people.
Absolutely. So congratulations to all the first responders, everyone who has to put their life on the line to go save a life. So.
I hope that she is okay, though.
Yeah,
I really do.
I literally can't watch it.
I know.
I'm like,
Our thoughts and prayers with her, and we'll keep you updated if we hear any new additional details about her condition. All right, right now, the armed school resource officer who was on duty at the time of the Parkland shooting is facing serious charges. Former Sheriff's Deputy Scott Peterson was the only armed person on campus when 17 people were shot last year. He was arrested yesterday and now faces multiple charges, including neglect of a child and culpable negligence. Peterson did not go into the building during the shooting. Instead, he hid at the base of a stairwell for 48 minutes, according to a Public Safety Commission report. Here's what he told the Today Show last year.
This will haunt me the rest of my life. It will. Those are my kids, those were my kids. So, and that's why it hurts the way it does. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I didn't. I'm sorry that I didn't know where he was. Or it was one person. I didn't know who it was.
The charges against Peterson carry a hefty sentence, up to 96.5 years in prison. The commissioner of the Florida Department of Law Enforcement says, quote, former Deputy Peterson did absolutely nothing to mitigate the MSD shooting. There can be no excuse for his complete inaction, and no question that his inaction cost lives. Meantime, Peterson's lawyer is calling for the charges to be dismissed, saying, quote, the state's actions appear to be nothing more than a thinly veiled attempt at politically motivated retribution against Mr. Peterson. Tori, before we dive in here, because I know we all feel a certain way about this, legally.
Yeah. This is huge, and it's rare. So just so you know, usually when you have child negligence, that goes to the parents or someone in charge. Constitutionally, the Supreme Court has ruled over and over again that the police don't have a constitutional need to protect the normal people. So for him to be charged with child negligence, that means he was caregiving of the children. Culpable negligence means it's as bad as driving through a crowded sidewalk with your car. You have to prove it was that negligent. I think that's going a little excessive. I understand some of these parents say, I have nothing to say except to rot in hell, says Fred Gutterberg. You could have saved my daughter, you didn't. So I understand, but are we not using this gentleman as a scapegoat for all of the anger for Parkland?
And I think that's the thing here, is I think that he's become the fall person. However, I got to have duality of thought here. As a parent, I would be furious because not only did he hide for 48 minutes, he also did not investigate where those shots were coming from. And then he also, when other police officers came to the scene, he instructed them to stay back 500 feet, not to enter the building. So his inaction, in my opinion, did cost lives. However, are we expecting, Brandon, too much from these school resource officers? And if we're going to hold him negligible, why aren't we holding the FBI negligible, who missed some leads about Mr. Cruz? How come we're also not holding our lawmakers as negligent?
Absolutely. I mean, I feel sorry for the parents and the victims' families and what they have to go through, first and foremost, you know, before we get into this. But you're asking this 56-year-old former deputy, you know, when you take these jobs, when you go from being in a police department or being a Marine, being in the military, and then you take a security job, you're out of that type of harm's way that you're used to. So you're asking him to run in there not knowing what's going on. And this is why I'm saying, I'm sorry, Sam. This is why we need to arm teachers. That's why we need to have.
What if one of the teachers?
jobs.
Okay, let's play that out.
Let's get Stephanie in here real quick.
So what I think obviously the sentencing here is absolutely ludicrous. He should, 96 years is ridiculous. But what I do think we should learn here, and what America should learn here, is that if you're going to have security in these situations, they need to be properly trained. That means yearly training, possibly every 6 months.
But he was properly trained.
What? But how was he? How? He obviously he was hiding.
I don't think.
No, the former police deputy isn't someone who's used to being the line of fire. I'm talking about military training. I'm talking about in the UK when our police or anyone who has a gun has to go on a course of a minimum of 3 months.
I think, Stephanie, that's to my point, though. Are we expecting too much from these resource officers? Somebody with a pistol to go into a building with someone with an AR-15. Again, I would be outraged as a parent, but are we expecting too much?
And to add on to that, what are we now expecting teachers to do?
I know.
So are they going to be charged if they run away and they have a gun with child negligence? Now you're asking to put 96 years of prison time on them?
But it's one
final thought. We do have to get to the next story.
If it's just you there and you have to go into a building, there's one thing if you're like, okay, I know teacher A, B, and C have guns. I can go in and we can mobilize and then we can figure out a plan to go and stop a shooter. We're asking little kids, we're asking 6th graders. Remember the one who said he was in the closet with a baseball bat, he was going to go down swinging? We're asking those kids to be the heroes. Now we're asking, I mean,
I hear you, Brandon. I hear you. The opposition, the opposing comment to that would be people would fear that more guns in the classroom would lead to more deaths. But I think everybody just wants a solution already. We are all up in arms about this. Yeah. Well, the president, let's move on here. The president is wrapping up his state visit to the UK today. President Trump and other world leaders gathered on the south coast of England to mark their anniversary of the D-Day landings. The actual anniversary is tomorrow, when 75 years ago, Allied forces stormed the beaches of Normandy, ultimately liberating Europe from Nazi Germany. Meantime, Trump sat down with Piers Morgan for an interview, and he clarified statements he had made earlier this week about Meghan Markle. Watch.
I didn't know that she said anything bad about me. It sounds like she did, and that's okay. And I said, wow, I didn't know she was nasty. I wasn't referring to her, she's nasty. I said she was nasty about me. She was nasty to me, and that's okay for her to be nasty. It's not good for me to be nasty to her.
Piers also presented the president with a thoughtful gift, but we're not so sure if it really suits him. Watch.
No, it's a little big.
Well, we can get that. I mean, that's fantastic.
Let me see how that looks. I think Churchill looked.
So Winston Trump.
I think Winston looked much better than this.
Jump in.
Yeah, I think Winston probably in his war rooms is rolling over in his grave that Trump's wearing his hat. They just have different styles, that's all. But, you know, it looked good on him.
What did you think about the Meghan Markle comment?
I think he's dicing it too strongly. You called her nasty, just apologize and move on.
You don't agree? You think we're nitpicking?
This is what we're talking about.
Yeah, the president calling someone nasty.
But we need to be talking about how his visit over there is going to strengthen our trade relationship with the UK, which was what we need right now, and what they need, especially since they're going through that Brexit thing, as Stephanie could attest to. But we're talking about what he said about Meghan Markle.
Because when the president says something about your judges, it matters, and it does deal with trade reliance when you deal with actual
words.
Does it though?
Yeah. They don't even like her over there though.
All the time. All right.
She doesn't get the cake treatment over there, so
she's not going to be the next in line for the throne. Of course, she's not going to get that treatment. What are you talking about? What do you think she's going to be, Queen?
You're being nasty right now.
Oh, dude,
being honest, love, is what I'm being.
I'm not okay with that.
Okay.
I don't think that's cool.
What's not cool?
Calling people nasty. I think now we're
grown-ups.
I know.
We're grown-ups.
We shouldn't be talking like that.
Like
so is your president?
Oh, you're nasty. I'm going to tell the teacher.
That's why I'm asking the president to be better than that. That's what all I'm doing is I agree with you.
But you know he's not going to.
You don't agree with him.
You know he's not going to.
I continue to challenge him every time.
All right. Let's get to this next story. Miley Cyrus is standing up for herself after she was groped by a fan. It was all caught on this video. We covered it earlier this week. You see the man grabbing at her hair, kissing her cheek as she walked through a large crowd. Miley tweeted this response, quote, "She can be wearing what she wants. She can be a virgin. She can be sleeping with 5 different people. She can be with her husband. She can be with her girlfriend. She can be naked. She can't be grabbed without her consent." Miley also tweeted out a screenshot of some of the comments she got about the groping, like one that says, "You wanted to be sexy. What do you expect?" Oh, my blood is boiling. As a former waitress that was constantly groped, but I don't even have to say as a former waitress, every single woman in this room has been groped without their consent. I just can't understand how people can just pacify it and normalize it because of what you're wearing.
Well, I've been groped as well, and it's an uncomfortable feeling, and you want to feel cool, but you want to, as a thing of flattery. But I want to ask you, what would you say to those women who say, "What do you expect? Well, it's your fault. You're the one dressing sexy. What do you wear when you go to the beach?" That's you know what I'm saying. So what would you say to those women?
You would just have to you would just have to educate them with facts. You would just have to educate. I always believe instead of attacking someone, to just show them that despite what someone wears, as Miley so eloquently put, despite if someone's a virgin or is sleeping with 5 guys, it still does not affect the statistics. 1 in 4 women will be assaulted in college before she graduates. Doesn't matter if she's wearing a short skirt or not.
And I think you just want to emphasize that you're reinforcing rape culture. And when you do that, you're putting women back 50 years. I mean, we just are getting to a point where Miley Cyrus, a young role model, is saying, no, you need consent. That's huge for women and young girls to see.
I think it's embarrassing that it's taking her to say that. I mean, this is embarrassing. And whoever that so-called fan is should be ashamed. They should be fined, and they should be made an example of. It's not
They should
okay.
It's criminal. They should be absolutely prosecuted against. That's unbelievable.
And if Liam had been in front or in behind her, imagine what had happened.
I would hope he would dealt with it.
Me too.
I think the story would have been very different.
But what's up with the security?
I'm sure.
Look how many people she's surrounded by. It's impossible for her security to be all over her.
I hope
She
they
shouldn't
got
have used that exit then, because that's too many people. It might be, because, I mean, look what happened.
Yeah. Wow. Well, chime in, DBL Nation. We just covered a lot, didn't we? We had a lot to say. I'm sure you do too. So make sure that you write in using the hashtag DBL Take. DBL is live. We'll bring you breaking news as soon as it happens. Coming up, we'll show you how a loving dog got a new lease on life after a horrible fire. It is a powerful heart threads about survival and second chances. And you, the viewer, are our 5th host. Alabama's governor is considering signing a bill into law that would chemically castrate parolees convicted of sex crimes against children. We're sharing your comments about this controversial punishment next.
Best. Hi, DBL Nation. Kelly Schubert here with the DBL Digital team. That is a great 5th host today, so I can't wait to hear what you have to say about that. I'm trying to decide if we're going to go to the desk or not to talk to the host. Yeah, let's go. Hey, guys, what's up? Yeah, let's do it.
Good reminder. Thank you. Touches me. I am karate kicking him in the.
Oh yeah, so
we can all.
One guy touched me repeatedly, and I
You
definitely did.
Kick back.
I didn't kick back. I did something else, but I wish I would not have done.
Having some sort of.
Welcome back to DBL. It is time for Fifth Host when we talk about what you're talking about. Child sex offenders in Alabama may have a new price to pay in addition to serving time. A new bill would require them to cover the cost of being chemically castrated through hormone therapy prior to completing their sentence. Opponents say chemical castration is a form of cruel and unusual punishment and that the drugs have significant irreversible effects. So DBL Nation, should child sex offenders be chemically castrated?
All right, let's get to these comments because people are talking about this. Barb from Facebook says, I can't believe these monsters even get to see the light of day. They should consider themselves lucky. I agree, Barbara. If you're a chomo in prison, a child molester in prison, they make it hell for you. And I don't believe that these people should see the light of day. You're touching on a kid. You're taking a kid's innocence. So whatever the government or NASA or whomever wants to do to them after they get done with their sentence, I could care less.
Well, you should. First of all, NASA has nothing to do with
NASA
it.
No, I'm just saying, like, send them to the moon or something, use test on them. Like, I could care less.
But you're
not
care.
a person to me anymore.
But you should care because that's what makes America different than those other countries. That
I don't care.
torture.
I don't care about
you
that, Tori. I don't care about. So let's let the child molesters just run around
That's
again.
not what I'm saying either. I'm just simply saying we got to make a stance of how we treat our prisoners. Nancy from Facebook says, instead of physically harming people's bodies, why don't they mandate therapy? Actually, they do, and some of these sexual offenders are actually asking for the chemical castration. So I want to make that clear. They feel pedophilic urges that they can't stop, and they're actually asking for that. The ACLU is okay with it if they have consent. The problem is if you don't have consent, is this cruel and unusual because you're exerting control over their minds, and it's irreversible.
And really quickly, a lot of courts do mandate therapy, and they have found that with these cases, with child molesters, with pedophiles, that they have a really high chance of reoffending.
Yes,
so therefore, therapy has not worked for the majority of them. So that's why it's come to this point.
Stuart from Facebook says, good. I'm surprised Alabama is not physically castrating them. I understand your point, Stuart, and of course this is a very hard subject. But what we all need to remember here is, as a human being, and this by no means I'm condoning paedophilia at all, we have to remember that you have no choice of your sexual preferences, whether you're straight, whether you're gay, whether you may be attracted to people that are very inappropriate to your age group, that you can't help that. It's a psychological, mental disorder, and you can't help who you are. What we need to think about more is treatment for those people. So make it easier for them to come forward and not be so stigmatized, to talk to therapists, to get the treatment that they need, which will then prevent them to go on and leading these heinous acts, because without that they just get penalized and then they're too scared to come forward and then they end up rebelling and doing those impulses that they can't control.
I just want to be careful not comparing, and I know you're not, but not comparing a pedophile to someone that is gay.
Oh, no, I'm saying
no, I know. I just want to make sure you clarify that because I don't want anybody.
I mean, like any form of sexual preference you may have.
Yeah.
Any form. So you like men, your
but one
sister
is
likes women.
consent and one is not consent.
But
no, I know.
That's the difference. I'm saying, like, whether or not you choose to act on those impulses is a very different thing. And obviously when you're endangering the lives of other people, when, like Brandon said, you're, hurting children, obviously that's not okay. But there needs to be a place for them to go to be able to talk about and have these kinds of options.
No, it's true. A lot of them hide.
Yeah, exactly, because it's so stigmatized, because they'll feel they're going to get murdered, they're going to get beaten up. So then what? They'll go and act on their impulses. Whereas if it was a tiny bit more open for people to go, you know what, this is a mental problem, I need help. Help me.
I know where that place is.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is this is a hard conversation to have. I think I agree more with you, Brandon. But great points all around. Thank you for writing in. An explosion on the set of the new Bond movie left the set on total lockdown. Raquel Villanueva has the news at the moment.
That's right, Sam. An on-set mishap on the set of Bond 25 left one crew member injured and destroyed part of the set. Reports say 3 explosions took place at the Pinewood Studios in England. A tweet describing the accident says, in part, damage was caused to the exterior of the 007 stage, and one crew member sustained a minor injury. But reports say part of the set fell on him, and it was described as utter chaos. Now, this is the second setback for the Bond film. Star Daniel Craig is still recovering from surgery after he hurt his ankle during a stunt.
Ooh. Wow.
Workers' comp.
That's where your mind goes. Coming up next on DBL, a dog's inspiring story of rebirth that emerged from the flames of tragedy. We'll tell you who gave her a second chance at life later in Heart Threads.
Man, I'm suing.
The Sun.
Hey guys, welcome to Double Jump. I'm Steph Jones, and today I'm going to be reviewing Elton John's Rocket Man. Yeah, I saw it last night. It was absolutely incredible. The costumes, the sets actually blew my mind. The story was very different to what I was expecting. Obviously, we've known Elton John for decades as the ultimate kind of original rock star, and he really played that role very well, but it gave me an insight into his life that I never imagined possible. The sex, the drugs, the alcoholism, the kind of self-torture of his life, it actually was quite depressing. And also, it was kind of portrayed in a whole musical format. I wasn't expecting that. If you remember the Bohemian Rhapsody biopic of Queen, where it showed Freddie Mercury's life and then him performing on stage as the music element, this was a completely different vibe. So Elton's songs were used to express different times of his life and emotions, and it was really quite heartfelt, and I was surprised at how damaged, if I can say that, how damaged he was as an artist and how his upbringing was. One thing I thought that was really interesting was a couple of the people from work I went to see the film with said they thought his upbringing was really sad, but to me, it just seemed very British. So there we go. I would say definitely go see it in the cinema if you're an Elton John fan. If you're not massively into musicals, Redbox, but I definitely think it's worth a watch. It was awesome, and yeah, come back next time for more DBL Jump. Rocket Man, Elton John, super great costumes, singing.
Welcome back to DBL. Today's Heart Threads is all about second chances. Watch how a sweet dog is changing lives after surviving a house fire.
This dog survived severe burns from a house fire. Now she's going to help others who've suffered just like her. Lexi Ann arrived at the Rough Start Rescue in Minnesota in poor condition. The fire took the lives of her puppies and left burns across her body. And her previous owners thought their only option was to put her down. But thanks to warm-hearted vets and foster care, she made a full recovery. Rough Start documented Lexi Ann's recovery on social media, hoping someone would be willing to adopt her. When firefighter Travis Oliver saw her pictures, he felt a strong connection. He drove 9 hours from Indiana just to adopt her. Now that Lexi Ann has settled in, Travis wants to train her for a new purpose, giving comfort to child burn victims on their own healing journeys. Travis knows surviving a fire is no small feat, which is why Lexi Ann's story gives him hope.
I'm sitting at work and I almost cry seeing her story.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, because I've pulled dogs out that didn't make it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're my new best friend because I know what you're going through has to be hell.
Lexi Ann, Travis, your story gives us all hope. We'll be right back.
Is high fives. I think it means prayers.
Which one? This one?
See, yeah, that's? Oh no,
Prayers?
he says
This
this.
one?
No, he said this is high five.
Yeah, it's definitely not.
It's not.
It's definitely not. People are clearing that up.
There's little like lines of
No, this is prayer.
This is prayer.
This is prayer.
See, Alex thinks it's high five.
Some people, yeah, a lot of people do think this one is high five. So prayer
didn't
and
know
high
that.
five get confused, but we're talking about this one.
That means like yay.
Yay! Like God bless, like yay, amen. Yeah, that's what I think it means.
So a lot of people agreeing with Brandon on the chemical castration, and I totally understand that why you would.
Why do we have a chemical castration emoji? That's the question.
That's exactly right. So people agreeing with, sorry, that yes.
I'm sorry, Tori, and I understand that people deserve second chances, but you heard Sam say about how sexual offenders it's a higher percentage for them to be a repeat offender. So I feel as though doing this is saving a life. And we said that the therapy doesn't work.
Right. I actually kind of agree with chemical castration if there's consent the people are asking for. I don't have a problem with that. It's a pill. It's not surgical. It takes down urges that they can't help. The problem with that otherwise is what makes America really different than a lot of other countries is that we treat our prisoners with at least a type of respect. We don't torture. We just don't do that. That's not in the American values. We left countries that do that. So that's what makes us. When you were like, I don't care where they send him, you should as a citizen.
I don't.
Happy birthday, Jeff!
Happy birthday, 90 seconds. How many seconds?
So that was a change of events. Sorry.
I understand that, Tori, but it's just when you touch a child.
I know. I get the anger, but it isn't because it isn't. The value has to hold for everybody, or else it's not a value.
It's one thing. Operation Varsity Blues, college admissions scandal. That's one social injustice. There's another thing, crime or hate, whatever. But we're talking about a child.
So you think they can do anything?
We're talking about a child. I think anything.
No, I don't.
It should be no holds barred.
So we have a very different set of opinions. Let us know who you agree with. I'm not condoning the prisoners. I just believe we should have values and morals about the treatment of prisoners. Remember, John S. McCain, tortured brutally in Vietnam, came home, never was able to lift his arm. That's because in Vietnam, that's okay. That's not okay in America, and it makes this different. So let us know if you guys agree. Shirley says maybe give them a choice of chemical castration or agree to life in prison. That's an interesting point.
Interesting.
That's a really interesting point.
Welcome back to DBL. We love sharing your comments. Tori.
Yeah, we got some very heated.
Are they as heated as we are today?
It's like spicy jalapeno.
I like jalapenos.
Naomi says, I agree with Brandon. And then also, I'm sorry, 17 people died and he did nothing. This is the Parkland School security officer. He took an oath to protect people. He even kept other law enforcement back. Stay in prison.
Wow. All right. Well, thanks for sharing your comments. We'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody.